Hey guys, Chastity and Greg here, back to break down episode 5 of Star Trek Picard.
This is Stardust City Rag. Now, of course, warning, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this episode yet, get out of here, go watch it, and then come on back.
Alright, so Stardust City Rag, this is another episode directed by Jonathan Frakes. We've got 2 in a row now, we're spoiled.
Now, this episode kicks off with a flashback to a research facility called the Seven Domes on the planet Vergison 13 years ago. It seems to be an off-the-records Borg research facility as we see a Starfleet officer having his eye forcibly removed. Yikes. Now, that's not just any Starfleet officer, that's Icheb. Now, Icheb was a former Borg drone who, along with 4 others, was discovered by the Voyager crew in the episode Collective. After a period of reintegration on board the Voyager, Seven helped him find his individuality and adjust to life outside the Borg Collective.
Where's your cortical node, buddy?
Now, that cortical node line's great because it just represents Icheb's journey from where he was back in the days of Voyager when he gave up his cortical node to save Seven's life. So when the doctor asks, where's your node? Sure enough, it's on the way right then and there.
Before the Doctor could do any more damage to the former Borg drone, 7 of 9 blasts her way in and takes everyone out. The two share a heartfelt moment before 7 ends his suffering. From there, we move to Stardust City on Freecloud. This scene is 2 weeks prior to the current events on Picard. It looks like Bruce Maddox has seen better days as he's currently on the run and in hiding. His lab was destroyed and he believes the Tal Shiar were behind it. He's been making some deals with the wrong people and can't pay off his loan to Bjayzl.
So after Bjayzl finds out the news about the Tal Shiar, she decides to just drug him and use him for something later on down the road to get some more money later. Profit.
Hold on to him.
Making a deal with the Tal Shiar is... Oh, am I such a pain in the ass?
Back on the La Sirena, Picard's team prepares for their mission on Freecloud. Picard gives 7 all the details of his mission, and we learn what 7 has been up to over the years. In the convo, we learn that 7 has been a Fenris Ranger for quite some time. So Picard's not a huge fan of the Rangers because he believes they're taking the law into their own hands.
But 7 just responds with, of course.
What law?
Now, 7 has no intentions of leaving the Rangers at all, but I love how Picard uses her own words kind of against her to bring her into his mission. Even though we do find out later on that 7 uses this opportunity to take care of some old loose ends.
Next, we see Rafi looking at the profile of someone named Gabriel Huang. This would turn out to be her son. So let's talk about Rafi and her son. So we learn more about Rafi, we get some more of her backstory. She had a family, she had a husband and a son, and they felt abandoned by her after the attack on Mars. Like she got so absorbed in the conspiracy and he just felt like she wasn't there for him.
No, not at all. So you can now see her mission and what she wants to do here on this planet. She just wanted to reconnect with her son, and it turns out to be a heartbreaking story for her because he just doesn't want anything to do with her anymore.
Yeah. And there's even a baby in the mix. He's expecting a daughter, and he does not want her involved at all. She's like, oh, she was just passing through. She's on her way. Like,
yeah, he wants nothing to do with her anymore.
No, she has to go. She's on her way.
So sure enough, at the end of the episode, she ends right back up on the La Sirena.
Rafi?
Leave me alone.
Now let's check in with Dr. Agnes Jurati. She's watching an old video of the good old days with Maddox before the synth attack on Mars.
So we find out they have a little bit of a relationship going on, but I do like the fact that he was making cookies from scratch.
From scratch,
yes, with the replicator, but he didn't want the replicator's chocolate chip cookies because they suck.
And next, the La Sirena is bombarded with pop-up ad holograms once Freecloud orbital control transfers cons.
And Eleanor doesn't get one at all. It's like a Worf thing. He's like, what about me? What happened?
Poor guy.
Next, Rafi finds Maddox on Freecloud, and the team learns quickly that Bjayzl is holding him hostage so they can broker a deal with the Tal Shiar. 7 quickly fills the gang in on Bjayzl, and we learn that she butchers ex-Borg for parts. She has also been high on the Rangers' wanted list for years.
For protection, Bjayzl has a small army of contractors and a Beta Inari. Rios describes a Beta Inari as a sentient reptiloid.
To which 7 comes up with the plan to trade herself for Maddox.
So next, Rios is beamed down to Freecloud, and it kind of looks like a mixture of Vegas and Blade Runner 2049.
Yes, with the woman dancing in the background.
Exactly. Rios and crew are disguised as Facers. Apparently on Freecloud they need to stand out so they don't blow their cover. Part 1 of the plan involves Rios speaking to Mr. Vup about the trade. One problem, Beta Inari can smell the truth.
Also what you had for dinner, and the last person you had sex with.
If they're not the same thing.
So Rafi makes Rios a special concoction to throw off Mr. Vup's lie detector nose.
And Rafi also makes transport pattern enhancers so the away team can get in and out of trouble when they find Maddox. Meanwhile, Eleanor is having a little trouble with his disguise.
I don't know how to not be Eleanor.
Then be Elnor.
Elnor who never talks.
Alright, speaking of disguises, so Picard has an eye patch and a very thick French accent, and that's his disguise.
I love the way he tears down Seven in front of Mr. Vup, because I feel like that was a little bit of the first contact Picard coming out.
Vile is what you are, damned curse.
So we already talked about Raffi and her son, but before she went to see her son, she had this really nice moment with Picard, and you can tell that she liked working with him.
I hope you find what you came out here for.
And I sincerely wish the same for you.
From there, Picard is shown Maddox, and he's in pretty bad shape. He then reveals Seven to Bjayzl, who says she hoped it would be her. She calls her by her name, Annika. And back on the ship, Dr. Girardi is freaking out and telling herself she has to do this.
Captain, Dr. Girardi's experiencing...
Deactivate EMH.
And Rios calls Agnes to alert her that they may have to abort the mission.
That's when we start seeing the seeds of her just kind of freaking out because she knows what she needs to do, which we see at the end of the episode.
Yes.
But this is just the first clue. Bjayzl brings up the event from the flashback and asks if Seven is still angry that she carved up her friend or because she trusted her. Seven says no one has been worth more to Bjayzl than her, but she got away.
There's a tiny little scruffle that takes place between the two, and Picard realizes, wait a minute,
I don't
something's
know what's
up.
happening. What's happening?
And Elnor gives the line.
Are we still pretending?
No, Elnor.
Seven explains that the Fenris Rangers tried to maintain order on the worlds that the Federation left behind.
So Seven doesn't immediately kill Bjayzl and gets transported up with Picard, Rios, Elnor, and Maddox. Seven says the Rangers are sending a Corsair for her, but asks Picard for 2 phasers. She gives him her card in case he ever needs a vigilante. Before she leaves, Seven stops for a meaningful moment with Picard to talk about reclaiming their humanity after being in the Borg Collective.
Yes.
All of it.
No.
Now, Picard has this whole conversation with Seven about, you gotta be careful, don't just go out there and kill everyone. And Seven's just like, nope, getting ready to lock and load and go down there with the phasers and take care of her, which is what she does.
This is for him.
So after Seven kills Bjayzl, security shows up and Seven is locked in a shootout. But I'm sure she'll walk out of there just fine and we'll see her again soon.
Picard's catching up with Maddox for a moment, and of course, Agnes is eavesdropping. Maddox suspected that Dodge was dead when the Tal Shiar came for him and blew up his lab. He says her embedded mom AI wouldn't have activated her unless she was in grave danger.
So now we know that Maddox did create that safeguard to activate Dodge, and the same thing's going to happen to Soji if she's put in grave danger.
And I'm guessing the same thing where Soji, falls asleep after talking to her mom. That was all from Maddox. We then find out that Maddox sent Soji to the artifact cube to find out more information about the synth attack on Mars. It's a big conspiracy.
Maddox says people are hiding something, but he's not sure who. It's the same ones who are hunting her, not just the Romulans. He thinks the Federation are involved, and that's what he sent Dodge and Soji to find out. Agnes cuts in, of course, and says Maddox needs to rest. We all know what's coming.
So Picard tells Rios they're heading to the artifact. Maddox shares a moment with Agnes and calls her Aggie.
Your contribution was... essential.
So that seems pretty loaded. What was her contribution?
We're gonna find out. I'm
I
sure
don't know,
in the first 5 minutes of the next episode.
Seems a little dark.
Yes.
Then Agnes says she has one more thing I have to atone for. Then she kills Maddox, the EMH shows up, he's like, what is happening? She just deactivates him.
And he doesn't tell Rios or anything,
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, so I wonder if this was a mercy killing, if she really did have this connection with him and didn't want anyone else to kill him. It's well, I'll do it.
Well, what did
that kind of
Commodore O say to
Right.
Girardi to get her to do something like this too?
And it ends with this mystery. She's like, I wish I didn't know what I know. I wish you knew what I knew.
The Destroyer.
Yeah, and so I really want to know what this is. We don't know what the what is, but they is probably the Federation.
Yeah.
Now on to things we noticed and Easter eggs. Bjayzl calls 7 of 9 by her birth name, Annika. As you may know, Seven is a former Borg drone but was originally human, born Annika Hansen. She was the daughter of 2 exobiologists who were researching the Borg. When she was 3, she joined her parents on the USS Raven as they went in search of the Borg. When she was 6, the Hansens encountered a Borg cube and followed it through a transwarp conduit to their place of origin in the Delta Quadrant. The Hansens conducted research undetected thanks to multi-adaptive shielding invented by Annika's father, Magnus. One day, an iron storm struck the Raven and took its multi-adaptive shielding offline just long enough for the Borg to detect them. She and her parents were captured and assimilated. She became 7 of 9 and remained Borg until she was liberated by the crew of the USS Voyager in 2374.
Bjayzl is seen drinking Tranya and offers a drug-laced version of it to Maddox. Tranya is an orange-colored beverage originating from the First Federation. It was first introduced in the original series episode, The Carbonite Maneuver.
This is Tranya. I hope you relish it as much as I.
On Freecloud, we spotted a bunch of Easter eggs in Stardust City. First, you can spot Mr. Mott's Hair Emporium, which is referring to the Bolian barber who worked in the barbershop aboard the USS Enterprise D.
You can also spot a projection of a Dabo table, which was the roulette-style gambling game of chance created by the Ferengi featured in DS9.
Dabo! That is Dabo, isn't it?
And speaking of DS9, it only makes sense that we can find Quark Bar in the city. It seems Quark managed to make his way to Stardust City at some point.
Now, not only does Quark have a bar on the planet, we see the line, "What is yours is ours." This is a deep cut as it seems to be a twist on the line given to Quark on the planet Risa while on vacation with Dax, Bashir, and Worf.
All that is ours is yours.
I'll take it.
Speaking of Quark, during his chat with Rios, Mr. Vup mentions that his references include a Mr. Quark of Ferenginar. Quark was a major character on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and we wouldn't be surprised if he pops up again on screen either this season or the next.
Oh, I'll be back. You can count on it.
The made-up deal Rios helped Quark strike was apparently with an alien race called the Breen. We've seen the Breen show up in a number of Star Trek series, but we don't know very much about them. They're a reclusive and warlike race that have faced off against the Federation a few times, and in Deep Space Nine, they allied with the Dominion against the Federation in an attempt to take over the Alpha Quadrant.
Harvesting the cybernetic implants of former Borg drones is apparently big business in the Star Trek universe these days, so much so that criminals are willing to abduct Starfleet officers like Ichib in order to get them. Seven is such a prize for Bjayzl because she still has a large majority of her implants, despite many being removed by the Voyager crew after she was freed from the Collective. Picard notes that this is because Seven was assimilated by the Borg as a child.
Her name was Annika Hansen. She was born on Stardate 25479. At the Tandara colony.
You can hear the Voyager theme when Seven beams down to Freecloud at the conclusion of the episode. When La Sirena is bombarded with pop-up ads, Rios gets one from the Red Bolian. While we may see a Red Bolian on screen someday, this may just be some catchy advertisement, because typically the Bolians have been featured with palish blue skin. Hailing from the planet Belarus 9, the Bolians are named after Cliff Bole, who directed the first Star Trek TNG episode to feature the species, in Conspiracy.
I am Commander Tabak. Commander, you have crossed the neutral zone. This is Federation territory. It was necessary.
Now, back when the Romulan Star Empire was a major force in the galaxy, the region between its territories and the Federation was designated as the Neutral Zone, and both governments stayed out of that space and weren't allowed to colonize there. Seven says that the Neutral Zone collapsed after the destruction of Romulus, suggesting that the area became a lawless region thanks to the power vacuum created by the absence of the Romulans and the Federation. The need to help the people who lived there gave rise to the Fenris Rangers, a vigilante group that Seven has been a part of for the last 14 years.
The treaty, set by subspace radio, established this neutral zone, entry into which by either side would constitute an act of war.
Okay, that's it for us over here, everybody. Make sure to subscribe and let us know what you thought of the episode in the comment section down below.
And we'll see you next week for Picard Episode 6. See you later.
Bye-bye.